It is Dr. Martin Luther King Day in the city of his birth. It is a day on, not a day off. Several of us Star Bar comics got together and volunteered today. We did. We went down to the Peachtree and Pine shelter and told abortion jokes to the homeless. It's our way of giving back. You know, even the underprivileged need a dark laugh now and then. I live right near the King Center, about a mile away, and it's a festive time there. Every year they bring out the rarely seen second letter from a Birmingham jail, right? Because you all know the original letter from a Birmingham jail, right? Which Dr. King outlaid the moral basis for nonviolent civil disobedience. Well, the second letter just says, "Dear Coretta, send smokes." Because, you know, he's in jail. And it can't all be poetry. Some of it's poetry. The older I get, the more I admire Dr. King. He practiced organized nonviolence. That is hard to do. Right? Not so much the nonviolent part, because I've always pretty much been a pussy. Like I sat out the Cub Scouts as a conscientious objector. But organized, that's what's hard, right? Getting your shit together. You ever try to get a bunch of your pussy friends together for a movie? It never works out, right? Someone's always losing their retainer, or they can't see Avatar because it causes epileptic seizures. The whole day is ruined. But Dr. King ended segregation. Just as out of curiosity, how many of you have been to the King Center? Okay. Now, how many of you have been to the Claremont Lounge more than 5 times? That's Atlanta, a land of contrasts. It is an interesting. We are the birthplace of Dr. King and Coca-Cola, right? Dr. King and Coke, right? The conscience of America and its leading cause of childhood obesity. It's kind of a neat mix of the spiritual and the really, really material, right? I mean, some people really believe in God and social justice and idealism, and a lot of people just want to make a lot of money, right? But it's okay because they're too busy to hate, right? That's our motto. We're too busy to hate, right? We can't hate, we've got sales quotas to meet. Commerce is a virtue in Atlanta, right? Marketing is our religion. The Coke logo is like our crucifix. You remember the Olympics? Do you remember our mascot? What is it? What the fuck was it? It was a nothing, right? It wasn't an animal. It wasn't like a falcon or a hawk. It wasn't a person, like an athlete, or even an inappropriate person, like a Confederate soldier or something. It was a nothing. It was meant to be a nothing. A soulless corporate design logo meant to look like a soulless corporate design logo. The kind of character you'd see on a store brand cereal, right? Like Kroger Flakes, you know? Or Publix Puffs. This is what this was. Publix Puffs guy thing. But whatever this was, you could make a toy out of it, right? You could sell it, and that's what mattered, right? There's a term in economics for a meaningless abstraction you can nonetheless somehow buy and sell. It's called a widget, right? That's what this was, the Atlanta Olympics widget. Our tribute to the power of international trademark law. Some people thought that it looked like a semen stain. They just tinted blue and drew a face on it. I was never that cynical. You know what it looked like to me? The lone teardrop shed for Atlanta's lost sense of identity. That's what the fuck, what is it, Fletch? 2 years ago was the 40th anniversary of Dr. King's funeral here in Atlanta. We were the city too busy to hate that week. Atlanta was at peace. Every other city in America rioted. Atlanta did not. We held it together. The black community, the white community, everybody said, you know, this was Dr. King's hometown. He was a man of peace. We should stay nonviolent in his honor. And plus, thousands of people were coming to town for the funeral. It was like our first big convention, right? We love conventions in Atlanta, don't we? 100,000 people followed the funeral procession from Ebenezer Baptist to Southview Cemetery. That's more people than watched the annual Dragon Con parade. And that's a much more upbeat parade, isn't it? I have never felt an ounce of liberal guilt watching fat stormtroopers walking between the hotels. Never. You ever see that? The fat stormtrooper getting winded in that 20-foot crosswalk between the Marriott Hilton? It's 20 feet, he still gets winded. I have never once looked at that and thought, you know, I've done so little with my life. Quite the opposite, actually. But in 1968, right here in Atlanta, 100,000 people came to watch a better man be put to rest. You know who offered to pay for the funeral if the city couldn't handle all the expenses? Robert Woodruff, the chairman of Coke. Coke wanted to sponsor the funeral. But they didn't want a big logo. No, nothing garish. Maybe just march the procession past the big neon Coke sign at 5 points. Maybe just a small logo, just a little one in the lower right-hand corner of the casket. Something tasteful and discreet. And it would have been the Coke logo, too, not like Tab or Fanta Grape or something, because that would have been tacky, wouldn't it? Fanta Grape presents the funeral of Dr. King. He was the conscience of our city. He deserved our city's marquee brand. Of course, if it were today, Delta and AirTran would be bidding for naming rights. The official airline of Dr. King's funeral. UPS would want in. Why not ship it ground? It's only 2 days from Memphis. We'll leave a note on the door if nobody's home. Every single Fortune 500 company in this city would want to be a sponsor. The RB sombrero would be on it. It would be so tacky. But Robert Woodruff did not pay for Dr. King's funeral. He did not. The city handled its expenses. And as for the family's personal expenses, Harry Belafonte paid for a lot of it, and Bobby Kennedy chipped in. Bobby Kennedy, who was running for president at the time, was himself shot just a couple months later. You know who paid for his funeral? Or you know who sponsored his funeral? MetLife Insurance, which is a pretty good tie-in if you think about it. You know, is your family accident prone? And then Harry Belafonte, who made his money as a calypso singer in the 50s. Does anybody know Harry Belafonte's big hit song, the Banana Boat song? Dale, Dale, daylight come and we want to go. That song helped pay for Dr. King's funeral. Commerce is a virtue in the city of Atlanta. All right. I'll end with something else. I had a date Thursday. It went okay. I went to the High Museum. We saw the Da Vinci exhibit, the Hand of the Genius exhibit, which is a little intimidating. You know, I don't like to be compared to Da Vinci. Well, I mean, he was a genius. It says so on the exhibit, right? That's the name, the Hand of the Genius. Nothing I have ever done with my hands has ever approached genius. Like, I masturbate a lot. Well, you saw this coming. Right? But even that is at a very amateurish level. It's surprisingly underwhelming. I turned 39 this month. That means I've been masturbating like 25 years. You'd think I could do tricks, right? You'd think at least by now I could put out a candle or shoot through a hoop, but no, not me. No. The only trick I can do, the only trick I have mastered while masturbating, I am still able to feel somehow a little more guilty and alone every time. Every time, a little more guilty and alone. That's my hand of genius. Oh, yeah. Thank you very much.